My wife and I moved up on the lake. Pictures of it looks out into the backyard that I have to walk past every day when I leave my bedroom to go to the garage, you know. Tell my wife, they get harder and harder to walk past that window every day. I just want to stop and sit down in front of it. Harder and harder every day to look out that window. Continue on to work.
I bet you that's all she's talking about.
Invested on this.
She'll tell you.
Catching it out. I just hope it don't plummet.
My plan changed, so that's good.
Good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I see you on TV. I see you on TV, and that beard is really something. I promise you, I ain't kidding.
Tell him the beer bug.
Listen. Wow.
I'm here.
Oh, did you try the strawberry cornbread yesterday? It was at
And it still look good.
the barbecue place. There was strawberry cornbread.
Is that Gucci?
How you doing, man?
All right.
Good to see you, man.
Yes.
What you got? Nothing.
Yes. It was so good. I was like, oh my god. Randy said, beans?
What you talking about?
Give me.
Finland. And
So they did make a song without the beans.
tear it down.
It was really good.
You know, white shirt. Back then we started spring boy.
The temperature was nice if you had a jacket on. It's usually hot. Yeah.
I've done all I can do.
They had soccer this year.
It looks horrible.
First time they've ever
I
had
was thinking
soccer.
about that the other day.
It'll keep you warm. It's Japanese.
Lean muscles good to him. He's good.
It's very healthy.
You know, I thought about it, but I was really
It's nutritional grade.
I never seen him.
You got a problem today? You ain't speak to me, brother? Yeah. I ain't hear you.
Because it's a good one.
How you doing, Al?
Okay,
You
I'll
doing
talk
all
to
right?
you. Thank you.
I'm in my feelings. How you feel? Councilman, I thought you said you wasn't gonna be here today.
Well, I lucked out and got to be.
Sir?
I got to be. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Y'all ready?
Good afternoon, everyone. The meeting of the Shreveport City Council is now called to order. I will ask Councilman James Green to give the invocation and Councilman Butcher to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And before we do that, I'm going to ask for you all to pray for the Gardner and Robinson family. This is the family that lost 3 loved ones in the house fire on yesterday morning. And so I ask that you please keep this family in your prayers, along with the last child that is still in the hospital in ICU. The mayor and I were out on the scene yesterday and met with the family, so I ask that this community please rally around them during this time. Councilman.
Thank you, God, for this day, and thank you for another opportunity to say thank you to you and give you glory and to give you honor. Lord, we ask that you would, as Councilwoman Taylor has just announced, that you would lift that family up and let them know that you can and you will take care of that. Sometimes in life we don't understand, but we know that there is a reason, and we know that you will take care of it. And we ask that you would come in our midst and cover our city. We ask that you would cover us as we make decisions up here that affect the lives of the citizens in this city. Lord, we ask that whatever we do, that at the end of the day we can give you some glory and we can give you some honor. And Lord, we thank you for what you've done. We're going to praise you in advance for what you're going to do. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
If you would, please face the flag and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Taylor,
Present.
Councilman Brooks.
Here.
Councilman Talaferro.
Here, ma'am.
Councilman Butcher.
Here.
Councilman Jackson. Councilman Green.
I'm here.
And Councilwoman Bowman.
Present. Tomorrow, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the administrative conference Monday, March 24th, 2025, and the city council meeting Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. Does any council member have any awards, recognitions, or distinguished guests not to exceed 15 minutes? And I do. Will the representatives from the Jazz Festival please come forward?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon.
Mayor Arsenault, esteemed members of the council. I'm Ennis with Jazz Fest on the Red. This is Charity and Dylan. We are Jazz Fest on the Red. That's happening Saturday, April 12th from 11 to 11 over at Riverview Park. We have a kids zone being done by Ochsner LSU Health from 11 to 7, and they'll have a bunch of activities for the kids. They'll have painting, jump houses, all of those things for the kids. And then we have over 30 local food vendors and artisans from around the area. And we'll also have a VIP area that'll have stations done by Chef Nima from Abby Singer. And then for the lineup, we're gonna start off with high school area local bands and then go into the lineup. And we're gonna have bands as such as Bossier Big Band, the Latrell Thomas, Q Major, North Benton High, North DeSoto High, and North DeSoto Griffin. And then we're gonna be headlined by none other than Mr. Dorsey Summerfield Jr. From Shreveport. And we also have a scholarship fund named in his honor, the Dorsey Summerfield Jr. Young Architects of Jazz Scholarship Fund. So if you wanna make a donation, you can go to jazzfestonthered.com and buy tickets, make a donation, come on out and have a good time.
All right. Y'all, you have anything to say?
It's just really an honor to be here and feel the support of the city council and the mayor and Madam Chair. We're really excited for everyone to be there, so check your inboxes real soon. And it's just really, it's great to be here. Born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana, and being able to give back to the community in the name of education, keeping the musical arts alive, bringing good energy to the downtown Shreveport economy. Like, we're really excited. So just thank you in advance.
Thank you all so much. We really look forward to it on Saturday.
Thank y'all for having
Okay,
us.
have a good day. Any other council members? Mayor Arsenault, do you have any awards, recognition, or distinguished guests not to exceed 15 minutes?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Mayor Arsenault, do you have any communications of the mayor relative to city business?
I do. I have two items for today. You have on your agenda two ordinances that would provide the balance of funding for the reconstruction of Fire Station 20. I certainly support the funding and moving forward as quickly as possible for the reconstruction. My concern is the proposed source of the funding. As written and with a council-sponsored amendment, the ordinances on the agenda, ordinances 20 and 21, would take $733,000 from the operating reserve to fund the project for a total of $1.6 million. As an aside, the lowest bid from those rejected earlier with your approval was about $1.4 million, and that will be our target when bids go out following funding. I believe we should not dip into the operating reserve unless it is absolutely necessary. With much hard work and cooperation between the administration and the council, you passed 2025 budgets that maintained an operating reserve of 8% of the operating budget for the city. That was the minimum target we pledged to the bond rating agencies and bond insurers that we would maintain. One of the main factors both rating agencies and bond insurers told us was affecting our relatively low credit rating was our low level of reserves. Both rating agencies stressed the need to increase our reserves to improve our credit rating, and they issued official guidance that reducing the reserve below 8% could lead to a downgrade of our credit rating. That would translate to a likely increase in our borrowing cost. Taking $733,000 from the operating reserve for Fire Station 20 would take the reserve below 8%. and it is not necessary to do that. As we are about to be in the market to sell bonds approved by the voters in 2021, we think that dropping the reserve below 8% would be bad timing and unnecessary. When we sold the first $88 million of 2024 proposition bonds in November, we received a premium of approximately $2.9 million. That is $2.9 million in addition to the $88 million. That premium, which we have on hand, is not pledged or allocated to any of the projects that comprise the published intended uses for the $88 million. Using part of the $2.9 million to complete Fire Station 20, a capital project, not an operating budget project, is an appropriate and legal use of the premium funds for Proposition 3 of the 2024 bonds. It does not take away from any proposed project, and it does not use operating reserve funds. I have asked you, and I ask you now, to withdraw or defeat Ordinance 20, which would be unnecessary, and to amend Ordinance 21 to make the unassigned premium funds, rather than the operating reserve, the source of the additional funding for Fire Station 20. We have prepared an amendment that would accomplish that, and we hope that one of you will sponsor the amendment and that the council will pass the amendment and then Ordinance 21 as amended. We anticipate that we may well have urgent needs in 2025 that will require use of operating reserve funds. If sales taxes do not trend upward, and they are currently flat as forecast and budgeted, we can expect challenges that are urgent and necessary and may draw our recommendation to use operating reserves. This is not one of those circumstances. On a separate, more positive note, we anticipate a significant economic development announcement for the city in the very near future. The project is still confidential, but it is significant and very likely to be announced soon. We have been taking prudent steps to set the stage for some big economic wins, and we are glad that those investments are bearing fruit, so stay tuned.
Does any member have any questions or concerns relative to property standards for Mr. Green? I think pretty much that we've given you or tasked you with what we needed to be done. I think we've already tasked you with what we need to get done.
Yes, ma'am.
Did everyone receive the revenue collection plan and implementation report from finance? Public hearing, there are none. Mr. Darg, will there be any other legislation to be added tomorrow?
No, Madam Chair.
Today, we will hear public comments on non-agenda and agenda items. And we have the following requests to speak. Madam Vice Chair will handle the comments.
Ms. John Glover.
Good evening, members of the council. John Glover, 9100 Walker Road, apartment 217, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71118. For quite some time, we've had a lot of mass hysteria going across the nation, especially with the moves that the president has been making. And there are three pieces of legislation that are on today's administrative conference agenda. Legislations 44, 45, and 46. And where I will agree that there is some concern, I want to agree that there's so much of a concern that we cannot turn our focus to what's here locally that we need to be focused on. I've been reading some information, Senate Bill 74. How many people are knowledgeable of Senate Bill 74? It's a very serious bill. It is a bill that's going to impact young folk who may be found in violation of a law based on their age, who can be easily tried as an adult and taken into adult facilities. Didn't see any rehabbing for those children, just that. Then I looked at the roads here in our city, particularly from North Hearn all the way down to 70th Street. Who's responsible for those roads? Yes, my attention is definitely about what's going on the federal level, but not so much that I don't understand and don't keep my attention of what's going on here in our own backyard. You know, I think about the national aid that we already provide for a lot of countries. And I don't think we're not trying to not provide those services for anyone. I think we're just now beginning to see maybe what some would call good stewarding. We've allowed so much to go on, and we become so used to it, it has become the norm. The same thing with federal employees being fired. Now, I've been in situations where restructuring has been done and people had to be let go because of, but it wasn't because of a certain sect of people or whatever. It was just a situation where a corporation made a decision. Again, we have to think about, we're already dealing with inflation. Those tariffs are not going to help anybody. There's no particular group to me that's going to be affected differently than any other, because we're all going to feel the effects of what's going on. But at the end of the day, we expect our local representatives to address our local needs. And I feel like, and I pray that I am not your enemy because I say what I say, but it's just me as a constituent who is concerned about the welfare of us here locally in our city. Thank you.
Ms. Glover, back in 2020, you sent 114 of us an email when you were concerned about your Social Security. In that email, it consisted of the council, not this council, but many of us were still on the council, along with the Caddo Parish Commission, state representatives, along with congressmen. And in that particular provision, you spoke highly about your financial condition regarding your Social Security. And you sent that to 114 of us. And in that email, you requested what level of involvement than any of us had, because it was the Windfall Provision Act. As a result of that particular email, I was a neophyte on the council at that time. But I stayed with it.
I didn't understand
It
you.
was the Social Security Fairness Act.
No, I was saying, you say you were a what?
Neophyte on the council, because I was just coming onto the council.
Oh, okay.
And learning about this particular provision that you so identified that you wanted us to study as outlined in your email. So probably some of us did that silently. And in that particular provision, as you fast forwarded to talk about where you were and what you thought was unfair to those that have worked so hard, and I overwhelmingly agree with you, I did my own homework as it relates to that. And as we all know, Representative Gary Grace, Congressman Grace, wanted to make sure that this was the final leg of that, because so many times that this had been up before the state, people locally got involved with this because they felt like the 90,000 Louisiana residents needed to make sure that they had their Social Security. Why would you have it? And so as a result of local as well as state, as long as federal fighting, inclusive of myself, calling our representatives, posting, and letting them know what you asked for in here, because of a collective fight, now these individuals have their Social Security. And what we're saying to you today is what you're asking for is no different than what our constituents are asking for on this level here. They want their voices to be heard. We want to ensure that they are heard, because just as we turned around and unbeknownst to you, some of us, I could say myself, did it because I wanted to look into it, and I thought, why should she have to go back to work? Why should she have to only receive $240-some? Why should she have to pay $7,800 back? That is unfair given how hard that she has worked. I look at this same thing for what these individuals are going and taking part in right now. You have those individuals that go to work right here at the Veterans Hospital that bust their tails every day. There are individuals also here that are afraid that they're going to lose their Social Security, their Medicaid, their Medicare, or what they depend on. And all they are asking for is that we hear their voices the same way that you wanted us to do. We get 114, we get emails all the time where we are grouped into. and what we need to pay attention to. And when you tell us about the legislation that Representative Senator Seabaugh is bringing forth right now, we're looking at that as well, because that legislation was brought to our attention today. So we've been on the phone with our state legislators saying, hey, what is the next game plan? So just because you may not hear it or see it right now on this agenda doesn't mean that it's not going to happen when we put together collectively what we want to do, when we want to speak to the administration about what's coming up this legislative session, that we know that we need to have our voices heard on that as well. So all I'm saying is that the same way that we looked at when you wrote us in 2021 and 2020 and 2021, that we're doing the same thing for our constituents right now.
May I rebut?
Yes.
Thank you. I don't think I said that you were not. No, I did not. I didn't say you were not. I said that our focus needed to be too on what is here local.
But you wanted our focus on the Social Security Fairness Act.
And I did at that time.
Okay.
And I still did until that time when WEP and GPO was reformed. My position did not change because I felt like on my behalf, I came on my behalf,
right,
though I included every Louisianian. I didn't just make it a single situation.
You came on your behalf and also on behalf of 25 other states.
I sure did.
Yes.
I know what I wrote.
So what we're saying to you again, Ms. Glover, is that the concerns, we can do both. We can focus on national issues and local issues. That's not taken away from anything, because what is happening nationally is affecting locals. Because we have the VA hospital that is over here. We have the Social Security Administration office that is here in our city. We have all of these other offices that are in our city that affect us locally. Because if those individuals are not working, then that affects our local economy. That is all that we're saying.
Okay, and you undoubtedly thought I was saying totally differently? Is that what I'm understanding?
Somewhat you were.
Oh, okay. Well, because you have given me an opportunity to rebut, my intent, my purpose was indeed to maintain a focus locally, and definitely understanding the mass hysteria that has come about because of those pieces of legislation. I will never deny that. And I know that there are going to be some pains with all that we do, regardless, federally, locally, or state. At the end of the day, if we cannot, in my opinion, support the hysteria, but just say, yes, we're here working just alongside as everybody else is. And I commend you for bringing back to my attention my efforts to have the repeal for WEP and GPO. And I'm grateful that after all these years that the Congress decided, those 535 members decided that we're going to give them what was theirs in the first place.
Most definitely. As a result of when you sent this to us, 114 of us.
Yes, I did.
When you sent this to us, as a result of that came local grassroots as well as state, even as the last legislative session, when they stood on the legislative floor to provide a resolution to Congressman Graves in support of what your efforts were here locally, that you said you were speaking for yourself, but you were also representing the other 89,999 people now that are receiving their Social Security because of your voice.
Right.
That's the only thing that we're doing right here.
Okay. Well, I thank you again for your sharing your position, and God bless you.
God bless you too,
Chair.
Mr. Green.
Ms. Glover, I just don't understand for the life of me how you can say to us what we have the right to do. I know how to chew bow gum and drink coffee at the same time, so I can work on city level, I can work on whatever. Out of all of the legislation that for the last, 3 years that we've been working on, how do you cherry pick this to say that because we sponsored this, that it's not our business? If we got constituents, if you're a human being, you ought to be concerned about all people, not just some people. So how do you cherry pick these items, these 4 members of the council, to say, y'all don't need to be doing that? What is it in your brain that helps you to be able to stand there today and to basically, ever since it's been on the agenda, what gives you that right? It's not like we out shooting somebody. It's not like we're violating the Constitution. It's not like we are shutting down the federal government or the city government. We're asking for a helping hand. Hey, change your thinking, change your life, change your world. As what I understand what you had done, you had asked for this same stuff. What if in that fact and time we had have said to you, well, we just gonna deal with local stuff and we're not gonna deal with federal, we're not gonna do this. How would you feel? Before we tear stuff up, we ought to at least support. Maybe you should rethink possibilities and say, since I was able to do that, why don't I join in and help y'all? Because I did this and I did this and I got connection with whatever to make a difference. Because sooner or later, I promise you, whatever is going on in Washington, D.C. is going to touch you, me, all of us, or somebody that we love, or even somebody we don't love. It's going to touch us. This is some real stuff that's happening. All we're doing is doing what we were called to do as servants. When you're a servant, then you care about people. It doesn't matter. You care about people and you want to help them. So I just want to know, how did your brain come to a point that you could say to us four, as to saying, y'all ain't got no business doing that. Y'all just do city stuff and don't worry about that. What happened to your brain? Was it, I mean,
May I respond?
in just a minute, yeah. I just want to know that if this was something derogatory, this ain't about giving raises when you ain't have no business doing it. This ain't about, this is about being a servant. So how do you tell me that I can't be a servant even at the church for the people that I represent? How do you get that in your brain to do that? Yes, ma'am.
First of all, Councilman Green, when I stood here, I made my comment to the council. I did not call any individual, though you may have been an author. Excuse
No.
me, just let me finish.
There's 4 of us on here.
Would you let me finish, please? Thank you. Though you may have authored the legislation, I've heard and I said initially there has been mass hysteria behind those 3 items. Did I not say that? So where you come telling me about
What is mass hysteria?
mass hysteria, meaning
Yeah.
that everybody's in an uproar.
Who is everybody?
Those who oppose or those who believe,
Where are they? Can you bring them tomorrow?
no, sir, because
Okay.
I said, I looked across, and that's what I said when I made my statement. Go back and listen to it.
Now you're talking about the people that's protesting all over the country today?
No, sir, I am not.
Well, who are the people can you bring 5 of them with you tomorrow?
May I ask you a question, sir?
No, can you bring 5
No,
of
I'm
them?
not going to do that because what you're trying to do is walk away from what my comment was as a constituent, not as someone who is attacking, because that was not my intent. And I did ask, and I did say amongst my comments, am I your enemy because I asked you a question? And I should not be, nor should I have met that comment where you say, what are you thinking? What is your brain thinking?
Yeah.
Really, Councilman Green?
Yeah, I wanna know.
But see, if I had said such to you, you would have been more in a position to be more, disrespectful.
Miss Glover.
No,
this
sir, because-
this is me on here, James Green.
Miss
This is me.
Councilman Green, there's no
Okay.
need for me to go back and forth with you because
Okay.
my comment I have made, you have made your statement. We are
I'm done.
we both have heard both our positions. And let me say this, if you are offended by what I said, then I ask you to forgive me. But please understand, when I stand here, I don't stand here for the totality oftentimes, though the totality is a part of the equation. I stood here today as a constituent who was speaking to those particular legislations. That was it. You may not have appreciated, and I don't think you should attack me when
No, I'm not attacking you. I'm telling you
but
how
see,
I
that is
feel.
my perception.
It's like, for an instance,
See,
you
I
are
don't want
saying
to go
how
back
you
and forth with
feel,
you,
and I'm expressing how I feel.
But see, you are
have
a
that right.
representative. You are an elected official.
Okay.
And as an elected official, you should be able to accept my comment without trying to destroy my credibility
Ma'am, I
or
ain't
my
trying
character.
to destroy your credibility.
Yeah, you were.
You change your thinking, you change your life.
Well, see,
All the thing I'm saying is, how do you say to us four
I don't say
that
to
we
you
have
four.
no business doing this?
I don't say to you for Mr. Green.
Who you
I
said
said
it
to
to?
the council.
Councilman.
I
I'm
did
gonna
say
call
the
a point of
council.
order.
Thank you.
Ms. Glover, thank you.
Okay.
Craig Lee.
Thank you, Ms. Glover. What about me?
Craig Lee, 1112 Prospect Street. First and foremost, I am in favor of all three of those resolutions, 42, 44, and 45. There was a mass protest on Saturday, although it was raining, and people throughout the country are standing up to say no to all of these psychotic resolutions, executive orders that are going on in Washington. And politics is all local. All politics is local. Next, I want to endorse the resolution number 52 that Councilman Green is sponsoring to recognize Ron Smith. He is one of our most brilliant artists. I think he recognizes himself as an art activist. I call him a revolutionary art advocate, but I'm glad that you're sponsoring that, Councilman Green. Also, resolution number 51 in honor of Autism Month, so we stand in full support of that. And I think Councilperson Bowman is sponsoring resolution 53, celebrating the Huntington Lady Raiders. They won the state championship this year, and that was absolutely awesome. And I do want to say, Mayor, thank you for your presentation on the bonds. Before I relocated back to Shreveport in 1994, I used to be a municipal bond broker. It is incumbent on the city council especially, to do all that we can do to generate more revenue for the city, because I was glad that he gave that presentation about the percentages and not having that drop below so it impacts our bond rating. Very important. So that was a very good presentation. And again, all politics is local, and I support these resolutions.
Thank you. Mr. Versa Clark.
Versa Clark, 7626 Tampa Way. Madam Chair, City Council, Mayor Arsenault, I rise to request an update on the ongoing water and sewage consent decree. I'm seeking this information for myself and any of the thousands of water and sewer customers. A little more than a year ago, the City Council considered ordinances to raise the water and sewer rates in order to pay for the water and sewer systems operating expenses and to meet the bond covenants established when the city last sold utility revenue bonds. The last water and sewage bond proposition was passed was the 2011 bond proposal, so I'm thinking that is what is referenced. My request is the progress on the general requirements of the consent decree. One, have we been able to analyze the entire collection system and repair all sewer defects, which are sources of infiltration and inflow and cause or contribute to overflow under 5 phases of work in the first 9 of a 12-year consent decree program? 2, have we been able to reassess the condition of sewers in phase 1, 2, and 3 in years 8 through 12 and repair all defects which cause or contribute to sewer overflow? 3, have we developed a computerized hydraulic model of the sanitary sewer system? 4, have we been able to analyze the wastewater system and construct additional conveyance capacity improvements where necessary to address sanitary sewer overflows to an approved level of control and treatment plant overloading by conclusion of year 12, which is May 2026? Have we been able to implement capacity management operations and maintenance programs, including a sewer overflow response program, a fats, oils, and grease fog control program, a chemical root control program, a private lateral rehabilitation program, a gravity sewer preventive maintenance program, and a wastewater treatment plant operation and preventive maintenance program? Are we on schedule with submitting specific periodic reports to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, LDEQ? In addition to the aforementioned 6 general requirements, how are we handling the civil penalty part of the consent?
Mr. Clark, I'm sorry, your time has expired.
Mr. Clark, can you leave your questions so we can send those to Water and Sewer so we can get an update?
There's only a few seconds left on this, but.
Mr. Brandon, can you meet Mr. Clark so he can get those particular questions answered? Mr. Clark, Mr. Brandon will meet you in the back to get those questions answered for you.
Thank you. Derek Henderson.
He waiting for you, Mr. Clark.
Good afternoon, Madam President, Madam Vice. Derek Henderson, 3005 Long Pines Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71119. That is in the western part of the city, Shreveport City Council, District G. I just have 2 questions and then a statement of, for the record, about the development that's going on at the southeast corner of Jefferson Page and Pines Road. There is a new Dollar General that's going on for that site, and we have vehemently opposed that company for at least 17 years from coming there. But we understand that that there was an application and it has been approved. So my question is, so there will not be a lot of speculation going on. We just want to be able to operate in fact, right? Is there any recourse that we as the citizens can take at this time to possibly delay or stop that development? And if not, how do we prevent this from happening again? Because we do understand that per the UDC that it didn't necessarily come before you all. And that's kind of how we ended up with the Hollywood Hustler on the Pines Road. We only knew about it when it was advertised. And then so we found out about this dollar store coming after the land had started being cleared. And we reached out to several people on the council as well as the MPC. And we were told that the application for this did not come before the MPC or for you all to consider. We're just trying to figure out how do we get good information so we can work in conjunction with you all in the future to prevent this from happening again. It's not finger pointing or blaming. We just want to know so that we can, in good faith, be good citizens and working with the people who have been elected to guide us and lead us in this regard.
So, Mr. Clark, hold on one second, Mr. Henderson. Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark? The construction of the Dollar General on that particular corner was also a surprise for many of us as well. And so, Mr. Clark, would you please explain to Mr. Henderson the procedure when an area is already zoned and what happens and what does come before the MPC, what does not, what does come before the council and what does not?
The first thing to take in consideration, Madam Chair, is that that corner is not in the city of Shreveport.
Okay.
That corner is in the parish of Caddo. So if there were any action to be taken, it would have been taken by the Caddo Parish Commission. It was already zoned properly. And when property is already zoned, there is no need for review because they have a right. We were told this by a previous city attorney. You cannot deny someone when they have a legal right to do what they are attempting to do. And we had no recourse with the Dollar General. I remember I used to live out on Pines Road when that was a barbecue place on that corner. I mean, the property has been zoned commercially a long time. And all they had to do was get a site plan approved, and then they could start construction. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I explained this to Mr. Henderson that the area was already zoned because there was a store away before it was torn down. Once something is already zoned, it does not come. So what you said that the council voted on it, you were incorrect. Mr. Henderson, when you put that on Facebook that we voted on that, we did not. Again, no.
No. So if you would read my statement. So again.
Okay, so Mr. Clark answered.
Wait a minute.
No, I got the floor now. Mr. Clark answered your questions. He answered your questions. It was already zoned.
And
it did not come before the council. And I apologize, you got the wrong information. It did not come, it didn't have to come before us because it was already zoned for that area.
Okay.
And I explained that to you.
I think I clearly said when I started to speak that I understand that it did not come before you all and it did not go before the MPC. My grandparents were one of the first families to develop in that area. So I'm fully aware that it was a barbecue place there. I mean, we ate there my grandparents had accounts there. We would go there in the summertimes and get whatever we want and they just go and pay. So I'm fully aware of that. The citizens of that area are fully aware that area has been commercially zoned. We're not against the development, but there are 2 dollar stores already at that corner. Right. We just didn't want another dollar store at that corner. We would welcome whatever kind of development that would be conducive and reflective of the area that's appropriate for the area. Those 2 stores, they're not good corporate citizens. The stores are understaffed. They have substantial product. They built them with substantial material. So we're not fighting against anybody. Anybody. We're not. We're just wanting to be good citizens so we can get good information so we can know what our recourses is. This is not the first time that they've applied for development with the Dollar General store at
so
that
Mr.
corner.
Clark explained to you
Wait a minute.
that it did not come before the council.
Wait a minute, in over 17 years,
Mr. Henderson.
over 17
Mr.
years, we
Henderson.
fought
Mr. Henderson, stop.
Mr. Henderson.
Stop.
Okay.
Point of order, thank you. We've answered your questions. Thank you, and you have a good day.
You guys have a good day.
Mr. David Hackery?
It's David Hackney.
Thank you.
I live at 9660 Railsback Ridge in Esplanade Subdivision in South Shreveport. I'm here today to say thank you and to have a somewhat positive report. I spoke here about a month ago at the March 10th meeting. I was accompanied with a friend of mine who is a resident of 12 Oak Subdivision, which is adjoining Esplanade. And we raised an issue of our concern on this Red River Expressway and this Tim James Road. And Councilman Butcher, you, strongly encouraged Mr. Larkin, the developer, and Mr. James to meet with the residents of Esplanade. And miracle upon miracle, we had a meeting. It was on March 25th, which was the same day as a very long council meeting. And despite that long meeting and a long work day, Mayor Arsenault came to the meeting, Councilman Boucher came to the meeting, City Engineer David Smith. So I want to recognize and thank all 3 of those gentlemen for coming. I think we had good dialogue with Mr. James. He shared some of the early conceptual studies that they have. The takeaway that I took was they don't have a firm plan right now. They are still working their plan. And so we're encouraged by some of the things we heard at the meeting. we're still concerned about some of the things we heard. We submitted long list of questions in writing about a week before the meeting. Those were supposed to be addressed in the meeting. We only covered about half the topic. So we're told by Mr. Larkin that there'll be another meeting, and we're anticipating getting written comments back, answers to our questions. I hope we can report back to you maybe in another few weeks, and hopefully progress is continue to be made. But thank you again. It shows the power of the city council to help get right results in the right way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kenneth Crawford.
Good afternoon. My name is Kenneth Crawford. I live at 7349 Mallard Bay Drive in Shreveport. I am in the towing business, and I'm also the owner of the last cab service here in Shreveport. I've got a couple things that are obviously a long way from what y'all discussed for most of the meeting, but I need to try to get a couple of them addressed. As far as the towing business, for years and years, we have been made to comply with an ordinance that to anybody that would sit down and read it makes absolutely zero sense. As part of the towing business, cars have to be stored. Here in Shreveport, we have Shreveport Central Storage. However, in order to be on the Shreveport Police rotation, you have to have a yard, you have to have a fence and a light and a building, and you have to have all the things that the state requires to have a storage yard. However, you don't get to store anything. Ms. Bowman, if you get in an accident, Shreveport calls a no preference. I come get it, take it to Central Storage and drop it off. However, I still have to maintain all the cost of having this yard that does nothing. I'm not allowed to put any of the Shreveport cars in there. Now, I can use that storage lot for towaways from Circle K, or if I was on the cattle list, or if I was on anything, but that's if. And so it's kind of like I got to build a Six Flags to play at the Shreveport Six Flags. And it's unfair to a lot of towing companies to have to incur those expenses when we're not allowed to store. So what I'm asking the council to do here is review it, help me find somebody that can either do one of two things. Either to get rid of the requirement that I have to have that yard and all those expenses, and that I'm allowed to be on the Shreveport rotation, provided that I have all the other requirements, or do away with Central Storage and let the people in the towing business tow and store cars like we do. I realize my time is short. I've got a lot of other things to deal with the vehicle for hire office. I'll try to run those past Tom. I think we can get those worked out, but for today, that's it. I just kind of wanted to get that on y'all's mind. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
I got a question. Kenny?
Mr. Crawford?
Yes, I'm sorry, I may have, did you give us the ordinance?
Which section? I did not. It's all in.
Is it under the towing?
It's all in 102.
Okay, 102. All right.
Yeah, and so it outlines, what the tow truck companies have to have as the wording is towing and storage. Mm-hmm. But like in Shreveport, you have one or the other. I'm sure you're familiar with the way the police stuff works. And, Central Storage has been around for 30 years, and so I don't know. It's as if they just kept all the old rules and just kind of wrote this one at the bottom, and so it makes us, it's expensive.
All right, we'll take a look. Thank you.
So I have a question, Mr. Ken.
Sure.
you said, you talked about the yard. You're required to have a yard to store the vehicles? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. So are you asking this council to remove that provision?
Yes.
So what would happen with the cars?
They all go to central storage already.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure how it's worded. I used to know it word for word.
So let me say, so you pick up the car. So let's just say you pick up the car.
Right.
That in an accident, whatever the case may be.
Correct.
And so do you bring the car to your location, or does it go directly to central storage?
Currently, the way the ordinance is written, anything that is deemed to be a no preference or an impound through the Shreveport list
Okay.
goes to central storage.
And so
And they pay us on Friday for the tow, and then they collect the storage and release cars and do the other things that a storage lot does.
Okay.
Okay? However, the way the ordinance is written, I still have to have a yard.
Oh, even though you don't store the car.
Okay, for example, I do the same thing in Bossier. I have
Right.
a business with a yard and all that. Bossier calls me, they have a wreck, I bring that back to my yard.
Right.
I collect the storage, I release them, I do those
Correct.
things. Shreveport made it somewhere along the way in the
You
90s.
pick up the car.
That if it pick up a
You
car,
have
it
to
goes
take
out
it
there.
but you're still required to have
But
a
I still
yard,
have to have
even
all
though you
this
don't
other,
store the
yeah, I
car.
still have to have all these other things
It
that I've
has to be
always
in
had to have.
Shreveport.
Okay.
So that, Chairman, I think if I'm not mistaken, a couple of years ago, public safety, we were going to review these towing
Towing
ordinances
ordinances?
as well as the vehicle for hire ordinances, and I don't know why we never got to that, but I think I would suggest we take that up. 'Cause a lot of it's antiquated, and
It is. I sat down today with a highlighter and just kind of went through the ordinance. I realized I only had a few minutes. I went through, with a lot of things that just makes absolutely no sense
If you have your
anymore.
highlighted portions that you did, that for us to look at, can you make
No, but
no, what I'm saying is can you bring them back to the clerk?
sure.
Okay,
I
bring them
can
back to the
scan them
clerk.
and email them to
That'll be
everyone.
fine.
And also, with that, I would like for somebody to take the opportunity to review why we have to have the vehicle for hire permit also. That was
we discussed that as well, and I think that I'm not for doing away with it at this point, but I do think that it's almost counterproductive that you've got rideshare that are able to do the exact same thing without having to go through the same things.
That's on the third page of what I got. So.
And so I agree. It's just sometimes without people reminding us, there's so much that goes on. Sometimes we lose sight of that, but I think that should be a priority of
Well, and
this
this is
council
one of
to
those
look into.
things that just trickle down. I have 60 or 70 cab drivers that all have to go through this background check with the city. But you got, God only knows how many Uber and Lyft drivers running around town that's never had their, I'm certainly Lyft but checked it, but the city didn't.
Yeah.
So it's a double standard at best. So
we need to look at that. So
okay, I'll email everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Madam Chair, that concludes public comments.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Councilman Green.
Madam Chair, I wanted to speak with Shelley. Of course, she was not in during that time. Shelley, would you come, please? Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, Shelley.
Yes,
First
sir.
of all, I'd like to commend you for you and your staff for what a great job that you all do for all of us with all of the parks and all that you all do for recreation. But what I'd like for you to do, if you could, I worked very, very hard to be elected to my district, which is District F. And I really appreciate all that you've done. The park is wonderful. All of my parks are in shape. But starting today, if there's anybody from Ringo, Mendon, Grambling, Sarepta, Spring Hill, especially Darlene, that want to interfere with my district with disrespect to me, please ask them to at least call me. I'm willing to work with anybody, but it's disrespectful for council members to go to other council members' district and just with no regard, don't even consult them. So if anybody from any of those places call you about my district, tell them that I'm interested in doing whatever, but please be respectful and call me. Let me just give you the places again. That's Ringo, Mendon, Grambling, and especially Darlene. Thank you so much here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, while we have Shelley, real quick, and this is kind of a master plan, and Shelley, we had a meeting today. Mr. Clark had the consultants from the master plan come in, and the Realtors Association. I went to it today at lunch. There were about 50 realtors there. Really good conversation. I think it's exactly what we wanted, and so it was very good. But one of the big things that was brought up more and more are walkable trails, walkable things. That was brought up today. So I figured while you were up here, I'd ask. We had talked about maybe going from Fern Avenue down. Are we any closer to that? I know we passed something that may pertain to that Pier Bayou stuff. Are we anywhere close to getting some more walking trails?
We have several. I can bring you a list of all the miles of walking trail we already have. There was one that, Southeast Shreveport had looked at where we would partner with the parish and with the state. And I know we have received some funding for that, for design. I'm not sure we have money to implement it yet.
But we still have the money for the design that was given several years ago. Well, I think it's something that when you talk about marketability of the city and things that other cities have, that's one thing that a lot of the realtors say that they get from people moving out of town. That we have some really nice parks. However, there's no real walking to the park. You have to drive to the park. There's no way to get to Betty, Virginia, really, unless because you have to cross a major highway and all that. So I would like for us to kind of move towards looking at that. I like the idea of the Pier Bayou corridor going down to Fern and then going back into South Shreveport. And I know the parish is willing to look at it with us. So I would like for us to look at that.
And we have a really big trail, and the problem is 70th Street. If we did not have 70th Street, we have a trail all the way that starts at Burt Coons and that would end up all the way to the Fern.
Yeah, around Key Mexico in that area.
Yes, so I can bring you those so you have a map of those.
How do we remedy the problem under 70th Street? We had talked about maybe doing something underneath it. We had talked about, maybe getting those crosswalks. I think that, I don't know if Mr. Morgan and them have talked to the state anymore.
State. Yes, we'll have to have their permission no matter what we do. Ideally would be go under, but I know there's some concerns about that too, so.
Well, I just want to keep it on our radar.
Okay.
And I do want to report to the council that I think this is exactly what we were wanting with the master plan, is bringing in stakeholders, because a lot of it focused around exactly what most of us talk about, the bowl of the city, the donut hole that we're growing out, but we're not growing in. And there was a lot of interest in what we had talked about at our meeting. So I think it was productive, and I appreciate you letting Mr. Clark, getting him up here. It was a very productive meeting. It lasted about an hour and a half.
Thank you.
So thank you, Shelley.
You're welcome.
We have no executive appointments to consider tomorrow. There are no items on the consent agenda for introduction to be adopted. Mr. Dark, I'm sorry. Please proceed with regular agenda. I don't think Mr. Clark want to come up here anymore.
I don't know whether to be flattered or insulted or which, but whatever. Thank you, Madam Chairman. 42 is the one that authorizes the execution of a retainer agreement with Butler Snow. Is my understanding as of this morning that the request was going to be to postpone that?
Yes.
So Mr.
Yes, sir.
Usada would have the opportunity to meet individually or in groups with some of you all to explain exactly
Yeah,
kind of
this
where we
item
are.
will be postponed until there are meetings with council members.
44, 45, and 46 are the ones that deal with national policy. Were you going to rewrite them based on how different it was from 2 weeks ago?
Yes,
or-
Marcus, Attorney Edwards has been busy doing amendments. Bless your heart.
I turned in my draft at 2:55.
48
Attorney
authorizes
Edwards.
the mayor to do a CEA between the city and SHRAC. This is for Representative Phelps' project where there'll be a mural constructed in her district, and she's working with SHRAC on that, and this in effect carves out a little bit of the capital project so that that mural can be run through SHRAC and not administered by Public Works, which is probably not the place it belongs. 49 is another one of the assignments between Cypress Energy Partners, LLC, and Paloma Natural Gas, so that Paloma will have the right to drill on property that's already been leased through the State Mineral Board for us. 50 is a little interesting. This Corby's Park Foundation has, if if you happen to read or see any of the stuff that Shelley's crew did last Thursday out at Kirby's, this is their 100th year anniversary. They're doing a great deal. But Kirby's Park Foundation's raised a good bit of money for the park, the golf course over the last few years, but they've done it under a different 501c3 arrangement. They want to get one in their own name. And apparently there are regulations that say if you're going to use a park's name, you need to have permission from they who own the park. So that is what this resolution would do. 51 is recognizing this month as Autism Acceptance Month in Shreveport. Wear your blue tomorrow, according
Wear
to
your
the
blue
chair.
tomorrow.
Sorry?
Wear your blue again tomorrow, a different blue, or wash the blue out that you have on.
Can't help you there. 52 is the one that recognizes Ron Smith for his artistic endeavors. 53 is the one that recognizes the Lady Raider girls basketball team for their state
I
championship.
guarantee you they'll be in blue. Mr. Dark, are there any questions from anyone? Mr. Dark, would you proceed with the introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to April 22nd?
54 is an act of donation between the city and the parish. Essentially, there's a piece of property that is in what we would otherwise call C.C. Antoine Park that was adjudicated to the parish, and the parish is in effect, by this, giving it to us so that we will actually own everything in the park. 55 is a lease agreement between us and King's Temple United Pentecostal Church. This is for one of the locations to put some of the police patrol folks. It's a church that's located on Kingston Road, just north of Southern Hills Elementary. They have had a school in that location for some time, and that wing is what they're proposing to lease to us. I've been out there with the police folks, and it is in very good shape. The only things we're going to have to do as far as moving in is put card access on 2 of the doors and build a very small wall to make sure that there's no egress between where we will be and where the church is. And this would start, because they still have school, they won't be moving until the end of June or 1st of July, but that gives us time to do some other things. Turned out there was a police gentleman who had passed away, and they had a funeral at his place, and that's where this discussion started. So sometimes things work that way. 57 and 58 are engineering contracts between the city and Fort and Tablata. One of them is for the Linwood Bridge, which is, I think, approximately $350,000. One is for University Park Drainage, which is about $250,000. Those went through A&E, and because of the size, we're bringing those to you.
It'll be 56 and 57.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilman Butcher.
On 56, what is the, I know we're just getting into the starting phase of this, but what kind of projection do we have on that Linwood Bridge of being open?
We are, if you might remember, we put half of the money for that in the 2024 bond issue, $3.3 million. We are actively requesting the remaining of that from state capital outlay this year. We have gotten previously about $2 million of it, but it is not in the kind of cash we can spend.
Okay.
So our goal is to come out of this legislative session with enough money to actually be able to go to contract as soon as the design's done.
Is the whole bridge going to have to come down? Is that?
No, this is a rehabilitation. This is not a replacement.
Okay.
That's $40 million, and nobody's got that kind of money.
I just think that, if we expect to build up that medical corridor like we want to, that is such a major thoroughfare. We need to make that a top priority to get that thing rebuilt.
Well, it is our highest capital outlay priority for this year.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I
Councilman
have a
Brooks.
question.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Dark, number 55.
Yes, sir.
We're considering leasing this church for a police substation?
This is a different one than some of them because it is not only the temporary location of Area 4 with patrol, but because Area 4 doesn't have a substation location, this is a longer lease. This gives us the opportunity to stay there should we choose to. Nothing is permanent, but this would be a much longer lease than some of the others because at this point, assuming everything goes well, areas 1, 2, and 3 will have a place to go in a new substation. But 4 does not, because 4 originally was going to be in the police headquarters, and that was removed out of there because we were going to have to cut the budget for for the building down to what we had in the last bond issue. So 4 right now is going to be going here and likely staying, and that's one of the reasons we tried to get a place that was nice, that did not take a lot of work, so nobody could complain that, they got all this new and we don't. This building, for the age it is in extraordinarily good shape.
So it's for Area 4 only?
Yes, sir.
And
2 may end up there briefly if depending on what happens on Line Avenue, but that's not its intended permanent location.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
What's the timeline on University Park?
I'd have to ask David and get you the information. They just starting design. We have some state money. We got some money appropriated from the first sale of bond. I think they're trying to go ahead and get the design going so they can then figure out where they are. David, do you have something different than that? You got compliments a while ago, so you got to come up and talk now.
Hello, Mayor, Council. On University Park, 18 months for designing to get to construction for some portion of it. First leg of the design is going to be to see how much we can afford, what we can do, and then we'll take that in phases.
So the design is going to be 18 months, or
Well,
just the project is going
We
to
don't
be 18
have
months?
we're waiting on the contract. But once design begins, I imagine 12 to 18 months before we have something to go to construction.
One of the things that I think University Park is likely to involve some of your involvement at some point, Madam Chair, because there's a question of whether we simply go reconstruct everything, whether we put all the drainage underground and what we have coming back. That's going to be, as you can imagine, quite disruptive, and we need to work with you, I believe, to determine what the most acceptable manner of reconstructing all that is for that neighborhood.
The most acceptable manner of reconstruction for that neighborhood is for them not to encounter drainage problems if they have done for decades. And so when we construct the project needs to be done correctly, as though it is brand new, no more patchwork. We need to check the lines and everything, because as I was over there today, I'm still looking at the sitting water that's there, especially in front of a number of the houses, which I would say probably also in that process too, Kemp Lane, which is heavily patched up, is going to need to be reconstructed as well. Because when you get down to that dip, then you see where all of that water just sits. And then it's a drainage that leads all the way closer to the graveyard, all behind till you get up by our old sewer system that is there.
Yes, ma'am. And luckily with Audrey Lane, taking that drainage subsurface
Right.
and getting us some room to work, we're hoping we can improve all of that.
Yes.
Now, whether we can do all of the drainage and all of the roads, it's not yet known. That's what we're going to try to get a grasp on. How much can we address, and what's the best way to do that? We're hoping to address all the drainage issues.
Yeah, we definitely want to address the drainage issues.
We've got about $6 million right now, so that's
Yep.
what we're trying. And I know we still have an active capital outlay application for that one as well.
For the state, correct? So have we followed up with Senator Jenkins and and Representative Walters?
We have spoken with Senator Jenkins lately. I don't know if we've spoken with Representative Walters in the
We
last.
definitely need to speak with her. That's going to be a huge issue of going in and getting that drain. David, when some of my constituents walk out after it's been raining, their driveways are riddled with water. So again, when you're talking about going, and it's not patchwork, but you know which ones that we've been getting the most complaints about, and it's gonna be in that little conduit that I've emailed you on. So we sufficiently need to look at that and see about getting that repaired.
Yes, ma'am. And like I said, the first thing we're going to do with our consultant is get a plan of how much we can address and bring that to you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, David.
Yes.
Sir, just since we got you in the hot seat here, can you give me an update on
Southfield?
Southfield, yeah.
Yes, sir. We expect 90% plans within the next week or so. depending on what those look like. There were a few changes from the 60s to address drainage, make sure we get it down far enough. But so those plans should be coming in. I would hope to turn those around for construction the next month or so.
Okay, and that will entail the four corners, addressing that whole stop, that four-way stop area.
At Cresswell?
At Cresswell?
Yes, sir. We'll do that intersection and from Camille all the way to Gilbert, and that'll have subsurface drainage and sidewalks and lighting for the whole corridor.
Okay, thank you.
If you'd like to look at it, just give me a shout.
All right, thank you.
And that you got my email about North Ferry Crossing?
Yes, sir. We've been working on that actively.
Keep me in the loop on that, because that's the first email I've gotten about it.
Okay, and I was trying to keep you out of it, but obviously we can't move.
Well, they threw me in it, so
quite as
I
fast.
was kind of shocked when I saw the picture. So keep me in the loop if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
David, let me know when you get your first assessments done for University Park.
Oh, sure will.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Dark, would you proceed with introduction of ordinances not to be adopted prior to April 22nd, 2025?
Sure. 27 amends the community development budget. They've gotten an additional $2.5 million in Choice Neighborhood Grant, which I believe is going to be applied towards some services for the folks at Bayou Grand. They also got an additional, I believe, $73,000 in emergency shelter grant funds. 28 is one of those, like Councilman Butcher talked about. We're trying, at least in my spare time, to look at pieces of city code that we don't use anymore or that we don't use that way anymore. And this is one of the first of those because it takes out the code provisions relative to a Department of Urban Development, which hasn't existed in a long time, and a Department of Engineering and Environmental Services, which was eliminated just a few years ago. But when those things were undone, they were not taken out of the code. So that's what we're trying to do a little at a time, going through some of this. 29 amends a couple of sections of Chapter 94. Water and Sewer has a program of issuing wastewater permits for restaurants. And what they have found is that there's some restaurants that administratively need not to have to go through all this because of what they do. They don't cook in any way that generates grease. And then there are a few that are only open so sparingly that they believe it makes sense to have a slightly less stringent set of regulations for them than they do, for the company that's using gallons and gallons of grease every week.
That'll be applicable to food trucks?
I'll have to ask Wes, but I would assume so.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Dark, please proceed with ordinances on second reading and final passage.
Ordinance 8 is the one that's been on the agenda for a little while relative to dumpsters on private residential property. I'm assuming that continues.
I have a question. I'm good with the ordinance. Butcher, have you got the information you needed?
I'm fine. If we need to do an amendment down the road, that's fine, but
Okay.
I'm with you on it. I understand the premise. We may have to try it. If we start getting complaints, we may have to do an amendment, but
Thank you.
thank you.
20 and 21 are the ones that were discussed earlier relative to the funding for Fire Station number 20. 20 is the general fund part of it. 21 is the capital part of it. 22, 23, and 24 are closures and abandonments. 22 and 23 are in the Solo Hood area. 24 is about a block from here between Caddo and Fannin, an alley that is no longer used. In all cases, we keep utility easements where we need to, and MPC has all signed off on all of those. 25 is one that was discussed a little bit last time. It's relative to updating the regulations relative to the liquor permits. And the biggest thing was making it where there was a distance regulation where you could only have, I believe, 2 within a 1 mile circle anywhere in the community. Plus, there were some provisions I think also were discussed last time about if a license completely lapsed for a certain period of time, that would negate that permit. Not a change of ownership necessarily, but if it was not used for some period of time, that's what would happen. 26 is a zoning case essentially at Buncombe and West 70th, changing from I-1 and R-17 to R-15. This is about 49 acres that would be used for relatively small lot residential development.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
This was passed 7-2 at the MPC.
On 25, I definitely understand the premise and am for not oversaturating neighborhoods with small neighborhood liquor stores. I do have a level of concern, however, about that square mile radius on bigger box type stores, and I think we discussed that. At least I've discussed it with the mayor and with Mr. Clark. At this point, if let's just use Costco as an example, wanted to come and build behind Whole Foods, they would not be able to do that because it's too close. Or they would be able to do it, but they would not be able to sell alcohol. Let me just put it like that. And I think that's one of the biggest features for us removing the physical separation like we did in the previous council, was to allow more big box stores to come and be able to sell alcohol. I'm going to vote for this, but I would like for us to look down the road as this goes, maybe putting a square footage minimum in there, maybe saying if it's over 15,000 square feet or 25,000 square feet, it has to still come to the council. However, there can be, there can be some leeway when it comes to a big box store, but I don't want it to be for small 4,000 or 5,000 square foot liquor stores. I want it to be for something that is not just a liquor store. And I think Mr. Clark has some ideas as well. So, but I will be voting on this today because I think we need to get it on the, or not today, but tomorrow, because we do need to get it on the books. But I do want us to revisit that because I think it's going to hurt us on future development.
Anybody else? Okay. Madam Clerk, is there any table legislation to be removed from the table?
No, ma'am.
So we have no property standards appeals to consider today. We will hear the ABO appeal of Muhammad Khan today, Corporal Glass Bradley or his representative. Please come forward. Is there anything special we need to do, Madam Clerk?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Corporal, you have the floor.
Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Mr. Khan, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
On January 22nd, Mr. Khan applied for a Class A ABO card, which he was denied due to his criminal history, also being a felon, which prevents him from obtaining one. Also, for his numerous alcohol and drug-related offenses. He has been arrested over 16 times. I did prepare a little statement to kind of give y'all an idea of the arrest. Khan has demonstrated a consistent pattern of legal violations, substance abuse, disregard for the law, which strongly undermines the claim of good character and reputation, which is required in Section 10-66 of the city ordinance. Over the years, behavior has marked by repeated offenses, multiple driving while intoxicated. That's in 2003, 2005, 2006, and 2014. He was also arrested for controlled dangerous substance in 2006, 2013, and 2020. He absconded from probation in DeSoto Parish, resulting in the probation being terminated unsatisfactory. He was also arrested for driving under suspension 2018 and again in 2020. And in 2016 and 24, he was denied of a Class A ABO card for the ongoing issues with alcohol. In 2024, he applied for a Class B, but I sent him home because he arrived to the station, appeared to be intoxicated. So he was unable to complete the application process. for exhibiting signs of intoxication through the licensing process. Eventually, in 2024, a Class B was issued, but he was also arrested for, I guess, working in a liquor store with a Class B earlier this year, or last year, but he was pled no contest this year, last month. The history of repeated criminal activity and poor decision-making demonstrates a clear lack of personal responsibility and respect for the law, further disqualifying him from being considered to be a person of good character and reputation according to the ordinance that has been placed before us.
Mr. Khan, you have something to say? You can come to the mic, sir.
Good afternoon. My
Good
name
afternoon.
is Muhammad Khan. I'm living in Louisiana, Cheaper, Louisiana, since back in '89. And I've been working on the convenience store since '90. And it's the only skill I have, been working on the store. That's the only way I provide my family. And that's the only way I know. I've been working on all my life on the convenience store. I have to request everyone y'all so y'all can grant me an ABO card so I can work back on the store and support my family. Because I have the job if I have the ABO card. And I've been last trouble I have in 2016. Since then, after that, I have no. I've been clean and sober and stay out of trouble. I request y'all. I'm gonna be follow the law and regulation and not making no any more trouble and problem or anything to affect my family and me. So I request everything y'all to provide me and grant me a bill card so I go back to work for the liquor store. And thank you, everyone.
Councilman Jackson.
Is he also the
May I
owner
say
of the
something?
building? Is he also the owner of the building? He don't own the building. He's just the manager. Okay.
State your name.
May I say something?
You can say,
You swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
you state your name for the record, please.
He is my cousin.
No, state your name.
My name is Liaquat Ali.
Okay.
I'm his cousin.
Mm-hmm.
All he wants to do is to request to give him one more chance so he can get his ABO card and support his family.
But he's had several chances to get his ABO card, from what we're hearing.
You what?
He's had several chances to have his ABO card. Am I wrong?
This is the first time been denied. He has the ABO card from State Department.
Where's the store?
What's the address of the store? Okay.
It's going to be United Liquor at 226 West 70. It's a liquor store, so you can't have.
No, it's excuse me. It's unlimited
Unlimited liquor.
daiquiri.
Oh.
Yes. And the owner is willing to hire him back if he gets the ABO card.
How many times has he been denied?
This will be number 2.
Okay.
You said hire back, so he currently doesn't work there?
He's going to get it higher if he gets his ABO card.
That's the only way that he can work at the store?
Yes.
Is there somewhere, you said he was selling it, I saw somewhere in a computer just went bust, but was there something in there that said that he had been selling without an ABO card? Or was it just the right class of ABO card?
Right class.
Okay.
So he is currently employed at the store?
No, he's not.
He is not?
No.
And you're saying that he has to have an ABO card to be employed at the store?
Right.
At a liquor store.
At a liquor store?
Yes.
All right.
But he was working at a liquor store without a class.
Whoever has their phone off, can you please turn it off? Turn your phone off.
Okay. Sorry.
And Detective Glass Bradley, can you remind us of the offenses that he has committed since 2014, I believe? 16. Is it 16?
Since 16?
Is that the latest? Is that 16? The latest offense?
No, 20.
He had
2024.
Is it the
2018, 2 separate for driving under suspension. In 2020, he violated his probation for the CDS and driving under suspension in DeSoto Parish.
Anything else after that?
Just he just pled no contest, I think last week, for selling without a ABO license.
Councilman Brooks?
He was selling without, or he was selling with a Class B?
So yes, with a Class B, you can't sell in the
A
liquor
Class
store.
B, you can only, you've defined this before. What can you do with a Class B?
So a Class B, you can serve any place that alcohol is not the main commodity.
Okay, such as a restaurant.
Yes.
They could have alcohol, but it can't be more than 60% of their sales.
Yes.
And he was selling in a liquor store with a Class B.
Daiquiris Unlimited.
Okay, I'm a little confused what the traffic violations have to do with, but I do understand a Class B is not going to work for a liquor store. So you're asking for a Class A to work in the liquor store?
Has he ever had a Class A? Well, my main question is, do you think he knew he was supposed to have a Class A?
Yes, he did. I explained to him when he got to Class B.
He came in and you said he was inebriated.
Yeah, he appeared to be intoxicated.
That's why he didn't get the Class A.
No, I sent him home. He was trying to get a Class A, but I told him he would only qualify for a Class B, but come back at another time when he was in better condition. And then when he came back, he was issued a Class B.
So he just never came back for the Class A.
He did come back for a Class A January of this year. That's what is being denied now.
And that's denied based on his record.
Yes.
And that's what this appeal is for?
Yes, sir.
The denial. So, Mr. Khan, when you were issued the Class B, did you understand that you could not work at the liquor store?
No, sir.
You did not understand the difference in the Class A and the Class B?
No, I don't have.
But Corporal Bradley says he just explained it to you.
Yes, after he explained to me, I have to Class A B card to work sell liquor, then apply for the Class A.
But did you realize you did not get a Class A?
No, I didn't know. I didn't know that he told me.
So Corporal Bradley, what was he doing before working at the liquor store? Because evidently he never had a Class A, so he should never have been able to work at the store legally.
Yeah, previous to his, I think his third DWI, maybe in 2000.
No, job-wise, what was he doing before working at the liquor store?
I don't know.
Are you able to answer that? What were you doing before working at this liquor store? You've always worked for a liquor store?
No, sir.
So you were working at the liquor store for how long?
Different places.
How long?
All my life.
All your life, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to contact the owner.
So I'm sorry, one more question. Corporal Bradley, the January 22nd denial is for a Class A.
Yes, sir.
Okay, does he still qualify for a Class B, or has he lost that privilege also?
He still has a Class B. Now it can be revoked.
Are you asking for a revocation, or you just are not?
Denial of the Class A.
Denial of a Class A.
Yes.
So he could be a server, he just can't work. Obviously, a liquor store, their primary business is liquor.
Yes.
With the Class B, can you work at a convenience store that sells just beer and wine?
Yes, sir.
So he could go to work at a convenience store
Yes, sir.
with what he's got.
Yes, sir.
And you're not asking to revoke the Class B?
No, sir.
Just deny the Class A?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Khan, do you understand that you can work at a convenience store, just not a liquor store, with the ABO card that you've got now?
Yes. But I like to request for a Class A, so that's the only job I have private right now to work with the Class A.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to uphold SPD.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Brooks to uphold SPD's recommendation, second by Councilman Butcher. Any discussion? Let's vote.
Okay, that passes with 6.
Seven.
7.
Motion passes. Secretary Bradley. You're welcome.
Thank
So the motion is to uphold Corporal Bradley's recommendation, Mr. Khan. It's not to give you the opportunity to have a Class A, ABO card. You will still have your Class B.
But I can get a job everywhere with the Class B, you know.
You can get a job with a Class B, you just can't have
I
one
have
in
tried.
a regular store, in a liquor store.
I have tried, but I can't work it on the Class B.
The council has already spoken.
So I can work it on
No,
liquor
not in,
store?
no, sir.
So it's the only way I provide my family. I have the job if I get a ABO card, Class A.
Mr. Khan, you're gonna have to go and look at a convenience store or a restaurant, sir. Thank you. You can talk more with Corporal Bradley.
I did try it, can it?
Mhm. Yes, I'm sorry.
When can he reapply for the Class A?
I don't know, it's a no for me.
When can he reapply? There's no
record.
Yeah.
2031.
Oh, 2031 would be when he could reapply? Okay.
10 years from his last completion of his felony. He was 2016, 5 years of hard labor, so 2021 plus 10.
Okay.
10 years from the conclusion of
Okay.
the sentence.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We have no MPC or ZBA appeals to consider tomorrow. Sir, you can exit.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other appeals, Madam Clerk?
No, ma'am.
Are there any reports from officers, boards, and committees?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Councilman
Tomorrow,
Green?
we will have a infrastructure meeting at 1:30.
1:30, Gary. Gary, 1:30.
1:30. Sandwiches will be provided.
Yeah, because for one though.
Wear your blue tomorrow, don't forget. Chief Reese. Sir, do you have any updates on the Garner family that you can share?
Sure. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Madam Chair, Madam Vice, and Administration. So I did visit the hospital, Oshner, with the Gardner family prior to this meeting. She is still in critical condition. Science says she will not make it, but we serve a God who makes the ultimate choice. I spoke with the father. The mother was not there. They are continuing to ask for prayers. Apparently, there's a prayer vigil. I just found out about it at 5 o'clock at Oshner.
Okay.
For that family.
All right.
So as of right now, she is very much still touch and go with a poor prognosis.
Are you going?
I will be at Morningstar for a Moortown event.
Okay.
Apparently, I'm supposed to be there too. So.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Chief, I want to thank you for all y'all's work. I know y'all spent a lot of time out south part of town. That was a major fire, and y'all did a good job considering the wind and everything. I went, and it was a massive fire.
Yes. Thank you so much. And of course, with the equipment that we have, and changing resources, and providing more personnel to certain areas of town. And our communications division does an excellent job of making sure the city is covered when we have incidents such as those. We were also at the Air Force show. It happened during the Air Base show. So thank y'all.
Chief.
Yes, sir.
What did you say about Morningstar?
I think we're having a community event leading up to Easter.
Oh,
so we
okay,
have
okay.
events every day, and we're going to canvass the neighborhood for that
Thank you.
event.
Madam Clerk, is there a clerk's report? Thank you, Chief.
No, ma'am.
We have a request from the city attorney to go into executive session to discuss the following: Dixon Felton versus City of Shreveport, suit number 644-729, First Judicial District Court, Caddo Parish, Louisiana. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Councilman
Second.
Butcher, second by Councilman Green. Any discussion? All in favor, let's vote.
That passes with 7.
Thank you all so much. Would you please clear the chamber?